It's the Awesome Admin Takeover of the release readiness videos. Yay!
Yay!
I'm Mike Gerholt. I'm Admin Evangelist. And
I'm Leanne Templeman, Admin Evangelist.
oh my goodness, we have so many cool things to talk about and so many things to like help admins get super excited for Spring 16.
Right, so we're really excited to be here today. We're gonna be covering those features that we are most excited about. There's a huge amount of amazing features in Spring 16, which you'll hear about during Release Readiness Live with all of our product managers demoing and showcasing their products. We're gonna cover those features that we think admins might be extra excited about and wanna delve into further.
But we're gonna go one level deeper and we're gonna help you be successful with those features, and we're gonna explain some things you can do when you roll them out, and we're gonna kind of demystify, because I don't know, pilot and beta, like what's that mean? I don't know, but Leanne knows. So let's get started, Leanne. We have so much to cover.
Sounds good. So Mike, you're a pretty social guy. I know you love collaboration. You've got a lot of Twitter followers. You're really active on Chatter internally at Salesforce. You were talking about how excited you were with Spring 16, the updates we have to collaboration in Salesforce. What are you most excited to see?
Holy cow. So first of all, there's a couple features that are hidden in the release notes that I think are really gonna help with user adoption. And the first one is banners on profile pages and in chatter groups.
Awesome.
I know, it's great. So it sounds like a little feature, but if you think about it, like we're on Facebook and we're in Twitter every day, and the layout and the look of it is something we're used to. So for our younger users, it's gonna feel more like home. And for our more advanced users, think of it, you can add like a chatter group picture of maybe like the time you were at a baseball game and it was the team and that's your profile in the background. So I think that really excites me because it adds that next level to the UI and it really makes it kind of sparkle. Right? I was playing with it the other day because we were getting ready for this video. And I was like, oh, Leanne, look at this. And look at this picture and look at that picture. So I think it's going to be really fun for users. Plus, we're changing the way that the profile looks. It's a circle now instead of a square. So it's a little more inviting.
Right, a nice customized profile page. So for you admins that are encouraging your end users to use social more, to use collaboration tools more, and giving them more tools to customize their profile page and how they're presenting the company internally, seems like a really big win.
Now, I should confess, Leanne, sometimes when I post to Chatter, I'm a little bit like quick to the draw and I like misspell words. Autocorrect doesn't always happen. Or like I forget to mention people. And with Chatter posts, we have the ability to edit those. And in Spring 16, we have the ability to edit Chatter posts that include links and files.
That's awesome.
I just like, it's so great because before I used to have to delete the Chatter post and then like repost the file and sometimes it would confuse people. Like, no, it's cool. I just forgot to mention like Leanne on the Chatter post. I really wanted her to see this file. So I'm super excited about that. Like those are three things that I think really bring Chatter to life in your organization.
Right, and there's updates to Chatter in communities as well. So definitely those of you that are on communities, using communities, you have to tune in to the Salesforce Live Communities Release Readiness segment. A couple features more collaboration specific that I'm excited about in communities, the ability to have multiple files on a post, for example. So that's a great way if you're asking a question, for example, or here's what's happening in my environment, maybe being able to add multiple screenshots, things like that. Great feature. Also being able to edit those links and files that you've updated. And now communities users, I believe, can create topics, which is cool too. So encouraging that engagement with your communities users.
So Leanne, I have to use a prop. All of this makes me smile quite a bit for all of the social collaboration that I see in Spring 16.
That is excellent.
But that's just the tip of the iceberg. Like, I think we have something that we introduced at Dreamforce, and Parker had a suit for it, but there's updates in Spring 16, right?
Right, so Lightning. We talked a lot about Lightning at Dreamforce. We're really focused on Lightning. And there are features in Spring 16 that are Lightning specific, that are new to Lightning. So before I get into that, those of you admins out there that are not yet in Lightning, there's new tools in Classic to help you drive to Lightning or help you have success or decide whether or not to implement Lightning. Two of which are great that I think are really relevant for admins are the ability to preview your production org in Lightning. So of course, if you haven't enabled Lightning yet, you have had the option since winter to have a developer environment to play with Lightning. But if you want to see what your production environment looks like in Lightning, in the Lightning setup page in Salesforce Classic, you can now have a preview tool to see what production would look like. There's also a comparison tool as well. So again, we're trying to give you more features and more tools to compare and check out the details of Lightning. Now, in Lightning, this is something that we had a lot of conversations about at Dreamforce. A lot of our customers are using person accounts. Person accounts are now going to be supported in the Lightning UI. So that is, we have the smiley.
Total thumbs up for that.
So person accounts are supported. So that means that your end users, your sales users that are using person accounts, if your org is using person accounts, you can access that in Lightning experience now. One feature in Lightning that we also talked about or got questions about at Dreamforce that it's great we can bring it to market now this spring is navigation menus. So with Spring 16 in Lightning, that sidebar navigation, you can now edit that and assign it to different profiles. So you can create custom navigation menus in that Lightning experience page for specific profiles, like sales users and system admins may want to look at a different set of tabs. And you can even include custom tabs in that.
So we were playing with this yesterday. Leanne, you were a sales engineer before you became an admin. Like if you were an admin, you're like, I really want to do these navigation menus. For some of your sales team, what would be some of the objects you would put in that navigation menu?
Well, I would want to bubble up those that they were using the most often, right? So obviously opportunities, accounts, leads, feed, home. But I think one of the areas that the power really comes with custom navigation is custom objects. Because if you're using custom objects that have custom tabs, which many of our customers are, let's say you have a projects custom object. With custom navigation, you can make that really easily available to those end users that may be often accessing that custom object in Classic. So that's one of the ways, kind of easing that transition to Lightning, helping your end users get those tabs that they access most often in a quick and easy way.
And when you build those menus, it's super simple. We did that the other day.
Yeah.
You assign it to the user and then just refresh the page.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty fun. It's the drag and drop, Lightning setup experience. And similar to, if you've created a app builder mobile page and determined where it's going to be in the mobile nav.
Right.
It's a similar experience. So just creating a menu navigation. And again, even if you don't have Lightning turned on, I encourage you to play with this in your developer edition environments and get comfortable with it and see how this might impact your production org and the ability to make that available.
Yep. Well, Lightning, we're on a journey together.
Yeah.
And one of the feedback that I heard at Dreamforce was Lightning's really cool, Mike, but I can't turn it on until you do inline editing. Okay, so in Spring 16, inline editing, you just go right to the page, double click on the pencil, and you can edit right there. Now, that part's really cool. And so I tested this yesterday because in the release notes, it says if you try to navigate away from the page, it will also warn you you have unsaved changes, which is amazing. So, and it really works. I did that yesterday. It was right in line, and it also opens up all the other fields. So if you double click, I could change a couple fields. If I forget to press save, and I'm in a hurry and I try and navigate away, I get a nice little warning box, which I enjoy.
Less clicks, less margin for user error. Especially, I think we've all tried to edit something on a record and then accidentally clicked to another page. And been
Or even the trackpad, you swipe and you go back. You're like, no, I just updated that. Oh, what was my call notes? I forget. That's okay.
It's always after you write a huge block of text in the description too.
Yes.
It's never when you're just creating a couple or updating a couple pick list fields. It's always these really heartfelt notes about the meeting and then it just disappears.
Client, I have this thing.
So is it available in
Spring 16.
Spring 16.
Yeah.
And then actually coming up, we should have it. It's not in this release, but in a future release, Safe Harbor, it's going to be available for list views too, which is cool.
I don't edit inline list views as much as I think you do, but that's cool. So I always get on the page, and that's what
I get excited about.
I have to open up the record before I write my heartfelt note of when I was adding description to an account. But collaboration, we touched on it. I almost forgot to mention Chatter broadcast groups.
Right.
How cool is that? Because now if you have a group like HR or finance that really wants in Salesforce, but they just really want to broadcast things out, this is a great way for them to kind of get started, start collaborating, start pushing updates to your users. So we talked collaboration, we talked Lightning, and there's so much more.
So back to the broadcast groups, though. So you're saying maybe we could retire some email domains, things like
I
that.
would love to
or
do that.
using them as much.
Or reply all should go away.
Right,
You have a broadcast
you can have
group now.
a way to project that news to the whole company.
To your whole all
Right,
your
if it's,
users.
Yeah, HR or facilities or however your company is organized. If there's things you want to communicate out to the whole company, it's a great way to do that, to bubble up that update.
Love it.
That's awesome.
But we have more. We have
More.
We have wait a minute. We have more. We have feature updates to talk about. Leanne, what is in our feature update section?
So there's some updates that really jumped out to me and Mike and I, in features that you are using whether or not you're using Lightning. So features that are relevant to really all of our admins that I think are great time savers. They really speak to me that I wish I had when I was an admin. One of which is a couple updates to pick lists. So first is the addition of global pick lists. So I don't know about you, Mike.
What is a global pick list? I have no idea. Is it a pick list that's the globe?
Yes.
Okay.
That would be a really beautiful pick list.
All right.
No, it is a pick list. So if you've ever had a time where you are creating the same pick list field across a number of objects. So maybe you have like product interest type, and that's a custom field you created, and possibly that's on your leads object, that's on your opportunity, that's on your account. I mean, you may have that in maybe it's on campaigns because you're marketing to a specific group. You may have that field in a lot of different areas. In the past, you would have had to create that pick list in all of those different objects, and they would be these standalone pick lists that, if you updated the fields or the
I used to have taken afternoon off to update all my pick lists.
Oh, what a pain. So now with global pick lists, you can create a global pick list. So I could create one global pick list for product interest type, and I could use those values in any new pick list I was creating.
Gotcha.
Like regular pick list or multi-select. I could say I want to use these global values, but there's more. So not only does it make it...
But wait, there's more.
But wait, there's more. When I update it. So let's say we've got a new product area, right, that we want to make sure we're tracking. Again, I don't have to go back through 5 custom pick lists and update that. I can just update that global pick list once. So I think that's a big time saver. When I update the values in that global pick list, it'll be updated everywhere. So I think that's a great time saver for admins, help enforce data quality, as well as reduce some of the administrative burden of updating those pick lists.
Right.
The second pick list feature that I'm excited about is restricted pick lists. So Mike, have you ever done a data import where one of the columns in your data import is to a pick list value, and maybe you have a few typos in it and you accidentally create a bunch of new pick list values?
Hey, remember when I talked about when I post to Chatter and I have typos?
Yeah.
Yes.
So most of us, maybe some people are very detailed with their CSVs, but most of us have had that experience of doing some sort of import and accidentally creating a value in a pick list because pick lists those values were accessible via the API, which meant when you were doing a data import, let's say if you had extra spaces or typos in the actual import document, it was really easy to accidentally create new pick list values, which was a total pain. Now you can create a new type of pick list, which is called, it's a regular pick list, but it's called restricted pick lists, which means that it closes that off to the API, so you cannot accidentally be creating new values. Again, another feature to be a time saver, enforce data quality, data uniformity, and just kind of avoid some of those blunders that most of us have had.
Right. Lowercase, hot lead.
Oh my
uppercase,
gosh.
hot lead.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All caps, hot lead.
Yeah, I had that happen. I accidentally created like 8 new values on an account type because I didn't know that you could change the pick list values. It was like one of my first data imports when I became a Salesforce admin, 9 years ago, and I didn't know that that was a thing you could do on accident. So I hadn't super cleaned the, lowercase prospect, uppercase prospect, that type of data. And I was kind of new on the job, and I accidentally created a whole bunch of fields on the account type pick list. So it wasn't great. But so now you won't have to go through what I went through.
That's okay. But we have more. You demoed App Builder quite a few times.
Many times.
Many times. Let's talk about App Builder.
Love it.
Spring 16, what's new?
So in App Builder, we talked about App Builder a lot at Dreamforce because it's really, really cool. And Lightning App Builder is GA still for your productions.
What's
which
GA
means,
mean? Hang on.
Generally
It's
available.
like a new term.
Generally
Okay.
available. Sorry.
All right.
You have it in your production environments, which means that you can create those mobile pages. You can create those lightning pages or those mobile pages for your users. Now, what we showed a lot at Dreamforce is App Builder for the ability to customize Record Home. So if anyone has seen a demo of us customizing like the opportunity page and changing the components on the opportunity page and changing that look and feel in Lightning, that is customizing Record Home. And that is still in pilot, but it's a pilot that's really easy to get to. In your developer edition or admin playground environments, if you just go to App Builder, it is a self-service checkbox, like opt-in pilot, which means you can turn it on tomorrow and you can start playing with it and start learning how to build apps and maybe thinking about those pages that would be really useful for your companies. And in that pilot, there's some new features in Spring 16, like the ability to have nested tabs. So when you're building, say, an opportunity page, you can now say, we've got like our central section of the opportunity page. Now you can customize the tabs that are available there, as well as have tabs under tabs. So you can say, and you can create custom tabs to have the end result. You can really customize the look and feel for your end users for the type of information they want to see. So if you want to have, say, a tab for sales analysis and have a lot of detailed information about that, you can nest that in that area, and you have control now. So that is in your developer environment, and there's on the Lightning Exchange, there's cool components to install that you can install in your developer environment. So if you look for components to start building those pages, there's a lot of great free components out there built by third parties and Salesforce Labs, along with paid components as well.
Tabs within tabs, I feel like.
Tabs on tabs on tabs.
So let's talk Process Builder. Because holy cow, when Process Builder came out, I was like, this is amazing for admins. And we saw some really cool processes that were built. We built some in our admin playgrounds and especially in the admin keynote. And I've seen it where you get down and you've got 7 layers built and your process is amazing. And then you launch it and it works for a week. And then your CEO comes in and says, oh, hey, by the way, I need this criteria added. And you're like, oh, if I could just really drag and drop and change that, that would be amazing. But you have to clone and change it and clone and change it.
Are you saying that our admins encounter situations where requirements change?
I'm saying every now and then somebody walks in and needs something different. So I got to play with this yesterday and highly, highly recommend you get a pre-release org, play with all these features. I had to stop Leanne, what she was doing, flip my laptop around. I was like, you need to look at this right now because it's amazing. So all of your criteria in Process Builder, you can just drag and move it, right? So if you need to reorder criteria, you don't have to keep rebuilding all your process. You can edit one and just move it around. And it was so simple. Yeah. It's like, wow.
And I believe that came from the Idea Exchange. I think that's one of the Process Builder ideas that was submitted, I believe, on the Idea Exchange.
The process automation group in Success is phenomenal. If you're having a problem with a process or you're troubleshooting something, this group is all over it. They're incredible.
Right. That's great. So now what you're saying is, as maybe if I built it not exactly how I intended to build it, or if criteria is changed, or if I'm just maybe creating a new process and I want to clone it,
just drag.
You can drag and drop instead of having to start from scratch and recreate from the criteria. We can move those elements of the tree around.
So the change in Process Builder makes me happy.
And there's a couple cool new features with Process Builder too around cloning processes, right?
Ooh.
So when you're creating a new, again, from the Idea Exchange, when you're cloning and creating a new version of a process, some of that information is going to be auto-populated more than it was previously to kind of decrease your administrative, filling out a description every time, decrease that time so you can really focus on building cool tools instead of typing out long, heartfelt notes.
You do. I feel like you have to have a release notes buddy and you go through and read it because I feel like you found things I didn't find. So I'm learning from you.
I think it depends on what you've built in the past. I feel like
it truly is.
The restricted fields thing, I don't know if I would have noticed that as much if I hadn't directly experienced what happens when you don't have restricted fields and you don't realize that that's a thing, and you accidentally create a whole bunch of field values.
So Leanne, you're all about pilot stuff, right?
I love pilots.
You are in, like Flynn, way before things. Can you tell me what you saw in the Spring 16 release that you thought were really cool pilot programs that admins should pay attention to?
Yeah, so absolutely. So one I already mentioned, which is our app builder for Record Home. So that is a self-service pilot. You have really super easy access to it in your Developer Edition orgs or in your Admin Playground org. Just go to App Builder, turn it on. You've got to. It's really fun to build cool opportunity pages or cool record pages. Another pilot that I'm really excited about, and this is kind of a stay tuned for more information pilot, is we're going to have a pilot to create components with Flow, create a Flow component. So that has, if you have like a UI-driven flow, so those of you that are Flow users and all of our Flow rock stars out there, I hope are really excited and keep your eyes peeled for upcoming news about this pilot because it'll allow you to create a Flow component within a record homepage, so that's what's in pilot, and then actually derive that entire record interaction experience from the component.
Wow.
So it's going to be cool. I don't have like direct materials I can share today on it because we're still getting that out there. But there will be news coming about this Flow component pilot in App Builder Record Home.
I feel like you want to say Flowponent.
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 I will make sure to bring that back to product marketing to the owner of it and say, hey, this is great.
We're going to call this Flowponents now?
Yeah, but stay tuned. So if you're a Flow user, if you love Flow and this sounds really cool to you, definitely stay tuned on success and stay tuned. Like we'll be, hopefully sending out communications on that soon.
Very cool.
So I'm really excited about that.
Love it. So lots for admins to take in. And you talked about pilot, and I also saw the word beta in the release notes.
Like beta fish?
Okay. And I'm like, beta, pilot, what's going on? So can you help me and help admins understand what is pilot versus beta?
Right. So that's a good question. Okay. So there's a couple key differences between a pilot and a beta for Salesforce. One of which is a pilot sometimes gets built. There's some pilots that are very, very likely going to be built. But pilots are also a way that we as a company kind of experiment with technologies and roll out features. So a pilot may or may not be built for, we talked about GA earlier, it may not make it GA. Okay. There's some that are obviously more likely than others to make it GA, but it's a way to experiment also with programs or with functionality that we're building. Another difference is with a pilot, it's not necessarily supported. So a beta is supported. A beta is supported by our customer support organization. A beta is going to go to BGA. It is something that future releases will respect that beta technology, and there won't be any negative interactions between technologies. So betas are supported. They're under kind of the umbrella of support for our products, whereas pilots kind of may or may not make it to there, and pilots are not, necessarily, there might not be a help and training page for a pilot. There may be or there may not be. There maybe wouldn't be customer support for a certain pilot feature. Okay. And then within pilots, there's varying levels of access. So there's the App Builder for Record Home pilot is very easy to get to, right? You go into your developer environment, you check a checkbox. So that's one end of the spectrum, and then the other end of the spectrum would be pilots that go through kind of an advanced criteria process with the product owner, with Salesforce, with the company about what's a good fit. So there's a pretty wide range of access for pilots, depending on that product and who it's best suited for.
Now we should talk about orgs as well, because I've heard production orgs, and many admins have heard production orgs. You said developer a few times.
Yes.
And I've also brought up sandbox.
Right.
So help me understand orgs and help me understand where I can try some of these features out and where I should be trying some of these features out.
Right. So there's basically 3 types of orgs that we talk about, 3 types of Salesforce environments. The first is production.
Okay.
So production is your main hotshot Salesforce implementation. That's where users are actually running their business. Okay. That's where all of your current data is. It's production. It's the rock star, right? Mm-hmm. And then we have a development environment. So a development environment would be like your Developer Edition org or your Admin Playground org. A developer environment is a great place to just kind of have fun, like clicking around, experimenting with new features or features you haven't used before. It's a great place to do like workshop materials, or if you see a blog post of someone, building something really cool, it's a great place to go through that exercise. It's where you do your trailhead.
Oh, yes.
It's also, development environments is where you would build like a standalone app. So if you had an app you maybe wanted to package,
Okay.
if I was building something that, didn't rely on any like custom data that I had in my production org, and it was this kind of standalone app that I wanted to build something cool, and maybe I wanted to package it for the App Exchange potentially, right? Or maybe I wanted to do something else with it and share it. That is best suited for a developer environment.
Gotcha.
Now your sandbox, so when to use a sandbox? First, check to see if you have a sandbox. There's varying levels of sandboxes, both types of sandboxes as well as number of sandboxes. That depends on your company's contract with Salesforce, so it depends. It's kind of different for a lot of different companies. So check to see if you have a sandbox. If you have a sandbox, if you're allowed to use it, if there's not already a development team that like owns that sandbox. A sandbox is a great place to build if you're building something that is specific to your production environment. Mm-hmm. So if I have an existing like contract management app that I built custom or exists custom in my production environment, and it's already like a pretty in-depth app that people are interacting with a lot, and I want to use some new features or I want to do some new additions and update to that, that's a great, doing that in Sandbox is a great fit because all that existing kind of data and metadata, those fields and objects and rules and everything will be there in Sandbox. I can build on top of that. Sandbox is also really good for testing. So if you want to have your end users test, which is part of a kind of implementation lifecycle that we'll talk about, for when your end users test, it's great to have them test in a sandbox because that's going to have names and data that they're familiar with. It's going to have the look and feel that they're comfortable with and familiar with. So it's a great place to get feedback for your end users.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Does that offer clarification?
It does. And it also reminds me that when I was a child, I liked to play in a sandbox, and then I play in a sandbox as an adult.
Yeah.
Things never change. Things never change. So, final part we want to talk about, because we've given them a lot. We talked about collaboration and lightning and features and pilots and betas. Oh my. And what org. We should figure out, now you've digested all that, you've read the release notes, and how do you be a successful Salesforce admin, right? Like, how do we get into Spring 16? We have our users as excited as we are with pennants and flags and astros, right? So I think the first thing is, you brought up what org. And I love sandboxes for training and for demoing, right? So I talked about this at Dreamforce, but as a Salesforce administrator, you cannot communicate enough, right? Over communicate. So the second you start reading through the release notes, make a punch list of features that were definitely going to impact you, right? Like the new profiles layout's pretty cool. And if you have users using Lightning, that's going to impact them, right? Chatter groups with the broadcast features, amazing, right? So maybe we should talk to new departments about rolling that out. But so I like to make a punch list of it, and then I like to communicate it early and often. You could do it with an email newsletter, or you could do it as a chatter post, maybe put together a little PDF, do it by department. You could do something I'm a big fan of called Lunch and Learn, where you get different departments together over lunch, and you could do this on a GoToMeeting. You could use your sandbox, right? Because we don't want demo in production, so we don't want to mark that opportunity 1 because it's going to affect things. And so in our sandbox, we can actually demo some of these features, right?
Right, yeah, and that's also a great side point. If you're building anything, don't do it in production. Build it in sandbox. I don't know if I said that. Don't build in production.
Right.
And also, don't demo in production, because you don't know if you're looking at, as a sysadmin, you might have access to a lot more data or fields and stuff. So do it in like a sanitized environment.
Absolutely.
Do it in sandbox where you can't break anything and you're not going to accidentally show
sample
something.
data. Exactly.
But I love the idea of a lunch and learn, because, for example, if you build really cool dashboards and there's like more interactive dashboard features in Lightning, what a great way to showcase that to your end users as an admin than to maybe update or build them some cool dashboards and then show them how to take advantage of the features.
And then the last tip is, so at Dreamforce, we gave you SABWA, which is Salesforce Administration by Walking Around. With Spring, we have lots of SABWA to do. So in addition to sitting down, having coffee with our user, finding out how they use the system, let's also point out a new feature that's going to be coming and how it can positively impact them, right?
Right.
Like, think of inline editing on chatter groups. when you had a file or a link, hey, remember that time that you posted that and you really wanted to edit it and you sent me that email? We can do that in Spring 16.
Right.
And that's a positive feature that's coming. So it also gives you great talking points.
Right, because we've both been admins for
Yes.
large companies with lots of users and had that experience of, wait, there's this cool new feature, and maybe it's something that requires no administration, like editing on a link or a post, for example, or on a file. It might not require administration, but part of your job as an admin, part of our role is beyond, just implementing some of the cool features that do require administration, is letting people know about it, right? Because we're, as admins, kind of the ambassadors internally and helping them be more successful. So yeah, I found that to be really successful. Like those kind of little-ish features that maybe don't require a lot of administrative burden, but are huge impact for your end users or your sales users.
Right.
Like, for example, the ability to edit the column width in Lightning list views. That's great. It doesn't require any, calorie effort from an admin, but I bet your sales users would like to know that, right? It's useful for them, and they probably won't read the release notes. So
Leanne, I touched on talking with users a lot, but I feel like there's a lot of features and a lot of things coming out that we need to communicate to executives that are really going to be impactful for admins, but are kind of, invisible.
Right, yeah, I always call those the invisible features, because when I was an admin, one of the things that I did was, asking for budget, like development dollars for our Salesforce project, or kind of asking for that continued executive sponsorship, which we know is part of a successful implementation. And you get that executive sponsorship initially, but it's important to keep that coming so that, say, when you do need a project or something approved, it's great to have a lot of buy-in from your whole organization starting at the top. So one of the things when there's invisible features, like for example, a change to a limit, like a field limit. So in winter, right, we had to change to how many roll-up summary fields you can have. If you walk up to your executive, unless your executive is a super Salesforce pro, and you say, hey, it's super cool, you can have more roll-up summary fields now, they're gonna be like, why are you telling me this? How does this mean something to me?
Right.
So I think when you're working with your executive team, especially people that, you may need budget from at some point, or you want that support from, it's really wonderful to help them understand why those features are meaningful to them. So for example, building them a cool dashboard component that's using some of those new field types, or giving them some insight into the exact numbers of development hours that are saved, maybe the decrease in development dollars you had to spend because of using Process Builder instead of spending a lot of time writing utility code with your developer. And giving them those numbers, or that actual kind of end user result of those features, is a great way for them to see, like, okay, this is how this is positively impacting my organization, and it makes my life easier.
Right.
And also translate it a little bit.
Yeah, and it also gets them excited again, right?
Yeah.
And so that passes all the way down through their managers and to the end users, because I feel like I'm always talking to the end users to get them cheering up, right? And it's always good if the CEO cheers down. So.
Well, in Winter 16, pretty much executives always love dashboards, and they pretty much always love mobile, in my experience, right?
Yep.
Like those are the things that they get very excited about. And showing them some of the new interaction features with dashboards on mobile, I think, is a great way to highlight, the value of their investment to your executives.
Love it. We covered a lot, Leanne. Holy cow.
Yeah.
There's a lot to do. So with that, we want to wrap up the amazing AwesomeAdmin takeover of release readiness.
Woo. So, Mike, all of our admins who are joining us.
Yes.
Where do they find more information?
Oh,
Where are they going to find this stuff?
Well, they should follow the AwesomeAdmin team on Twitter.
Right. There's no I in
There's
admin.
no I in admin. So at Salesforce admins, ADMNS, admins.
Admins.
Say it like you have peanut butter stuck to your
And
tongue.
admin.salesforce.com. And then also, salesforce.com/release readiness is a great place to go. If you want to see demos of some of the features we're going to be talking about, or we were talking about, going through the release readiness webcast and seeing the PMs demo and talk about some of the more technical depth of the features, because we encompassed a lot of different features. So if there's something that you're like, oh my gosh, I have to know more about these changes to communities and updates to communities, go look up the communities broadcast, and the communities PMs will be going into that in detail.
Right. Yes. These are just the features that literally, because we have admin sunglasses, I had to put on. I'm kind of ready for spring. I'm ready for the sun to come out.
Yeah, I feel like
You
I'm
know?
ready now. I feel like Astro is ready.
Astro's ready.
I feel like we're ready.
Ready for more Spring 16 awesomeness.
Well, thank you, Mike.
This is great, Leanne. Thank you.
Yeah, and thanks for joining us. We can't wait to see your next release.